आ गया अभी YouTube लाइव का ऑप्शन आ गया है।
Yes, sir. Live streaming on YouTube.
So if I am the host, then I can allow the participants to enter. Or Avi, you can allow the participant to enter. I think it's 10:57, so you can allow. So I request all the participants to please mute yourself and turn off your video. Thank you, Dr. Avi, for muting all the participants. We have still participants joining, so we'll wait for some time for them to join.
Dr. Avi, you can make me co-host, so then you can mute others easily.
Sir, there is no option, I think, for co-host.
Doctor,
Option.
At one time there can be one host only. There is no option for co-host in this.
Fine.
Version. So. Dr. V, am I audible?
Yes,
am I
sir.
audible, Dr.
Yes,
V?
sir. Yes, sir, you are audible.
I'm coming back in 2 minutes, okay?
Okay.
Okay, sir.
We have 60 participants now, Dr. Avi,
Yes, sir.
and I think we are on YouTube Live, so we will be having some participants on YouTube Live as well.
Yes, sir.
So can you just update me how many are on YouTube Live
Okay.
at
Okay, so
present?
just a second. So there are 15 participants on YouTube Live.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Avi. Okay, Dr. Avi, I think it's 11:04, so we can start. We will have some participants joining in a moment. I think I have received some
Yes, sir.
messages.
Yes, sir.
So, Dr. Deepak, can you hear me, Dr. Deepak?
Yes, Dr. Devendra.
So, can we start, Dr. Deepak?
Yeah. Shall I proceed?
I will formally invite you, Dr. Deepak, to start with your presentation.
Sure.
So, good morning to all the participants. We are here on this webinar, and I now request Nitya to please take the charge and start the webinar officially.
Good morning, everyone. I am Nitya Chofla, student of BPT final year from Banarsidas Chandiwala Institute of Physiotherapy. On behalf of Banarsidas Chandiwala Institute of Physiotherapy, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all the participants of today's webinar on the topic Elastic Resistance in Rehabilitation. As physiotherapists, we implement various methods and techniques in providing the best possible rehab to our patients. Strength training and conditioning are important goals in the physiotherapy rehabilitation. Elastic resistance training in optimal doses can be adopted in all the stages of recovery for gaining strength. To enlighten us on the use of elastic resistance in rehabilitation, we have our eminent speaker, Dr. Deepak Malhotra. Our resource person for the day, Dr. Deepak Malhotra, is an assistant professor in Department of Rehabilitation Sciences, Jamia Hamdard, New Delhi, the first institute in Delhi to start postgraduate courses in physiotherapy. Before joining Jamia Hamdard, he was working as a faculty member in one of the most renowned national institutes of physiotherapy, Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay Institute for Physically Handicapped, University of Delhi. Apart from this, he has a vast experience of working with sports persons and athletes and has traveled with them to various places in India and abroad. Dr. Deepak did his faculty research fellowship in biomechanics from IIT Delhi and has keen interest for research in fields of sports and fitness, biomechanics, and exercise physiology. He has extensively worked on magnetic dynamometer and has publications in national and international journals. He has been guiding various postgraduate research theses and is in a panel of quite a number of universities as examiner and physiotherapy expert. Dr. Deepak has been making regular appearances in print and electronic media to spread awareness about the profession of physiotherapy in India. He is a certified instructor with Theraband Academy, USA, and certified in advanced dry needling and internationally certified Pilates instructor from Australia. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Deepak to share his valuable insights with our participants. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Nitya, for those kind words. And first of all, I would like to thank the administration of the BCIP for inviting me here. Thanks to Dr. Devinder for inviting me here. And I hope I'll be able to give you all, some insight into this very interesting topic. Although, I would be repeating some of the basic concepts because that is there. You cannot help it. And I have only 1 hour lecture, so I would be talking about the basic concepts first. But tell me, I would like to tell you this, that if you'll understand those basic concepts, and then sky is the limit. There are so many things which you can do as far as these techniques are concerned. Just implement yourself, just apply your mind, and you can do so many things with this. Although I would be talking about, that would be something repetitive, but I cannot help it because first I have to start with ABC only. And in 1 hour, I can do justice with that only. So hope, you'll pick something from, this presentation, and you will apply that thing into your practice. That should be evidence-based practice. And if you are not following it up till now, that would be very good if you are really following it up. Or you can, pick up something, pick an idea from here, and then you can implement that idea in your research. And you can, look for developing some new protocols and something of that sort. So I'll just start my presentation. And once again, thanks to all of you. Just wait. Now you can see my screen?
Yes, Dr. Deepak, your screen is visible.
Yeah. So we'll just move ahead. My introduction has already been given. I just want to give this disclaimer that this presentation contains material from Theraband Academy, USA. Videos are also from Theraband Academy. Now, being a certified trainer with Theraband Academy, I'm authorized person to use this material. I declare no conflict of interest as far as this presentation goes, and copy of material without consent and permission would be a violation. So if you want to use anything, anyone, please contact Theraband Academy because this is not my copyrighted material. So you can, and I'm authorized to use this. If you want to use anything, please go ahead, just contact and take permission from Theraband Academy. Thank you. Now, as I've already told that, now when you talk about elastic resistance, there are various types of elastic resistance which we use in our clinical practice. We have Therabands. Now, whenever I talk about this topic, now automatically the word comes Theraband. Now, but have you ever wondered, what is this Theraband? This term Theraband has become synonymous now with elastic resistance. This Theraband is a brand name actually. It's not generic product. Generic product is elastic resistance. Now, because Theraband company, they produce such high quality goods that this product has become it's synonymous. Whenever we have to refer to elastic resistance, we simply say Theraband. But Theraband is a brand name. Just remember that. Otherwise, there are so many companies which are producing elastic resistance, but every physio you will come to, you will come in contact with, you will say, they'll just say Theraband because they are the pioneers in this field. They were the one who actually developed the science of exercise with elastic resistance. They've really worked hard and they have done extensive research on that. So all these products which I'll be talking about, they are extensively backed by evidence. There is ample of evidence which you can see on their website. You can visit therabandacademy.com. You can see various researches. You can, there are various sources available. You can just visit and explore the website fully. So when we talk about, Theraband or we talk about elastic resistance, there are bands, there are loops, there are elastic tubings, there are gym balls. So there are so many things, it's an endless list, I would say quite a comprehensive list, not endless, but quite a comprehensive list. Okay. So now, first of all, we should understand the basic principles behind elastic resistance training. That is very important. If we don't understand those basic principles, then we are just, doing injustice to ourselves also and our patients also. At least we should know the physiological and biomechanical background of what we are applying to our patients. That is very important. Now, how does elastic resistance compare to other types of resistance? The first thing which we have to see. Now, when you compare elastic versus other types of resistance, you get similar EMG profiles with exercises. There is no significant difference in strength outcomes. Now, when you see that there is not much difference as far as when you're training with elastic resistance or when you're training with other modes of resistance training. So you get similar results, but there are many other advantages which you get with elastic resistance. There are many more advantages which you get with elastic resistance. So we will talk about those advantages which can really, they can come really handy when we are, giving exercise to our patients. Okay. So how much force do the bands and tubing produce? This is very important. We should know that, or we should have a fair enough idea that how much force is produced by these bands and tubings, and we can actually find that out. We can have a gross idea that yes, clinically how much force we are applying to the patient. Now, elastic resistance force depends on three factors. Okay, the force is equal to K into CSA into delta L. K is the elastic coefficient which is consistent within bands. Okay, it's the elastic coefficient of okay. So sorry. So elastic coefficient of the material which is used for the bands, it is consistent within bands, and CSA is the cross-sectional area of the the material which is getting stretched. It is the amount of material which is getting stretched. It is given by length into width into height, and delta L is your change in length, which is the elongation from resting to final. Final minus resting is the elongation. Final length minus the resting length is the elongation. So if you know, this K is consistent. Wait. This K is consistent, and CSA you can find out. Okay, and the company, the Theraband, has done specific research, and they have found out that at what elongation, what sort of strength is being produced by the band, because they have calculated the CSA also. These two are known. So what we want to find out is just delta L, that how much we are elongating the band. That's the only thing which a therapist has to do to find out that how much force would be produced by the muscle. Now, elastic resistance force depends on percentage elongation from resting length regardless of the original length of the material. That what does it mean? That if you are stretching a 1 meter band to a 2 meter band, so it will give X force. And if you are stretching a 2 meter band to 4 meter band, to 4 meter, then also it will give X force, because in both the cases, the percentage elongation is same. You have 100% elongation from 1 meter to 2 meter, and then from 2 meter to 4 meter. So both the cases, the percentage elongation is, in terms of percentage, if you talk about it, is 100%. So force production in both the cases would be same. It would not be like if you are stretching 1 meter band to 2 meters, it is getting stretched more, so there will be more force. But if you are stretching a 2 meter to 4 meter, then there will be less force. Nothing like that, because the percentage elongation is same in both the cases. So you will get the same force. Just remember that. So elastic resistance is based on percentage elongation. Percentage is given by final length minus the resting length divided by the resting length into 100. So within any color. Now, when we talk about color, there is a very well established color coding system. As far as this Theraband is concerned, you have various color codings. You start from, and these color codes, they progress depending upon the resistance they give. They start from tan, then yellow, red, green, blue, black, silver, gold. Okay, so it starts from tan, yellow, red, green, blue, black, silver, gold. So a tan color elastic resistance from Theraband would give the least amount of resistance. Then a yellow band would give slightly higher resistance. Red slightly higher than that. Then green further higher. Blue, black, silver, gold, like that. Okay. So within any color, the force will be the same at the same elongation regardless of the resting length. So that's what we have been mentioning before also, that if you take a green band and you pull it from 1 meter to 2 meters and then from 2 meters to 4 meters, then in both the cases, the force production would be same. Now this is how you can see, and you can take a printout of this chart and you can place in your clinical setup so that you can easily find out that if you know how much is the percentage elongation, you can easily find out that what is the and with your clinical experience, and when we conduct our workshops, we teach you how to find out that how much is the percentage elongation of the band, and then you can easily just refer to this the table which is there for ready reference in your clinic or in your clinical setup, and you can find out that how much force the band is providing to the patient at that particular moment or for that exercise. So if you when you go for this excuse me, when you see this, and if you stretch a blue band by 100%, it will give a 3.2 kgs of force. A black band, if stretched by 150%, will give 5.6 kgs of force. And a silver band, if stretched for 200%, will give 9.5 kgs of force. Okay. Now, elastic resistance, principle 4, elastic resistance provides consistent linear resistance that is quantifiable and predictable. So you can actually, with all these principles, when you know all these principles, you can expect a consistent resistance from your elastic resistance from Theraband, which you're using. Because, when you talk about other materials or other brands, you may not get a consistent, you must have, and you will see, XYZ brands, various colors, orange, purple, you get various colors and brands which give your elastic resistance. And then you will see some of the bands will be really tight, some of them will be really loose, so there is no consistency, there is no linearity. So elastic resistance provides consistent linear resistance that is quantifiable and predictable. At 100% elongation, there is a 20 to 30% increase force between Theraband colors. Now, that's what is there. When you progress from a yellow, this is a systematic, progression. This is called a system of progression. These color codes are, devised very thoughtfully, and it is called a system of progression. From yellow to red, there is 26% increase. From red to green, there is 22% increase. From green to blue, there is 30% increase. From blue to black, there is 27% increase. And from black to silver, again, 27% increase. So gradually the resistance is increasing. Now, elastic resistance, the real advantage. What is the real advantage as far as the elastic resistance is concerned? Now, one of the most important benefits, unlike free weights, it does not rely on gravity to provide resistance. That is the main advantage. When you talk about, these days, the concept of functional training, functional movement therapy, I should not use the word functional movement therapy, functional training rather. Okay, so functional training, training the movement, kinetic chain training, these are generic terms which are very important. Okay, and people are emphasizing on them. Because these days, whether it is forged or in your normal clinical practice, normal orthopedic musculoskeletal cases, when you see, you are not going for isolated training, isolated muscle, joints training. You are rather, your rehabilitation would not be complete unless you go for functional training, in the phase 4 or phase 5. Phase 5 rehabilitation, basically you have to train the movement, because your mind appreciates movement. If you train the movement, you would be training all the muscles which are producing that movement, directly or indirectly. Basically indirectly you would be training all the muscles, and there will be better synchronization, better muscular control if you are training the movement. You can go for speed training at slower speeds, higher speeds, very easily using the bands. It's very difficult for me because we teach all these things in 2 days of workshop, and there are so many things which we teach during that, and to bring all those things into 1 hour would be difficult. So I'll just give you food for thought, and you can pick that thought from there, and then you can develop yourself. And if you want to ask anything, you can contact me whenever. So they don't rely on gravity. That is the most important thing. So it can be used for more functional movement patterns that mimic both everyday activities and sports specific activities. Various sports specific activities can be trained with Theraband in phase 5 or later part of the phase 4 rehabilitation. Free weights can only provide resistance in a vertical plane. Agar aap dumbbell utha rahe, when you're lifting a dumbbell, so the resistance would be in the vertical plane only. Now, if you are lifting a dumbbell and you're doing a horizontal adduction or abduction of your shoulder, then you are actually not exercising the horizontal adductors or abductors. You are exercising the abductors basically, or the flexors, not the horizontal adductors or abductors basically. Okay, because the force is acting downwards. Horizontal plane exercise with a free weight, there is no resistance to that movement. Within that horizontal plane, there is no resistance to that movement. A study from Louisiana State University discovered that an elastic band training strengthened the rotator cuff muscles of collegiate baseball pitchers better than a program that used free weight dumbbells. Excuse me. I'll just resume. I'm getting a call. Excuse me.
Okay, Dr. Deepak. I request all the participants, if you have any query, please drop the query in the Dropbox or chat box so that they can be answered in the end of the webinar. Thank you all.
I'm sorry for that. There was an important call which I had to take. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Deepak.
Please, switch off your mics, please. Yeah. A study from Louisiana State University discovered that an elastic band training program strengthened the rotator cuff muscles of collegiate basketball pitchers better than a program that used free weight dumbbells. Because elastic resistance does not rely on gravity to produce resistance, it is possible to change the emphasis placed on muscles during certain exercises. Now, change in muscle emphasis is important. Now, when you are using a modality which is not relying on gravity, so you can bring the resistance from any direction, from up, down, from front, from back, anywhere. There are so many limitations when we are using free weights or the pulley system also. There are limitations for that. But with Therabands, there are no limitations. You can use it for PNF patterns. You can use it for functional training. The band can come from above, can come from down, can come from sideways. From diagonal direction. So there are so many ways you can combine 2 or 3 bands, and then you can train different components of the movement. Multi-planar stimulation can be done with using Therabands. Okay. Now, to target specific muscles either for aesthetic reasons or for strengthening for sport competition, you can emphasize specific muscles. In case of injuries, as shifting the force more to certain muscles can help protect certain associated joints, like BMO training. We can target BMO specifically with the help of bands. Another benefit, it provides continuous tension to the muscles being trained. When you lift a free weight like a dumbbell in any direction other than straight up and down, the tension of the muscle can actually be removed at certain points in the range of motion. Now, it's another benefit. It's like if you're doing a dumbbell exercise and you're holding the dumbbell like this, and you are doing a curl. So from 90 to say 130, there will be no resistance at all with the dumbbell in this position. Okay, there will be resistance only from here to here. Fine, and here there will be no resistance at all. Fine. So with the band, it will not be like that. So there will be resistance throughout the range. And when the band is going back, there will be eccentric activation of the same muscle group which was exercised earlier. So there is concentric also, and eccentric also. Okay, and throughout the range, not just in a particular range, throughout the range. So there is more comprehensive training of the muscle throughout the range of motion. The fact that elastic resistance equipment does not rely on gravity also means that the elastic resistance equipment used can be inexpensive, lightweight, and easily stored and transported, despite its ability to provide strong resistance. So it's very easy to take. Now in today's time, when we are struggling to maintain our clinical practice, Theraband's elastic resistance are very important. When you have staggered appointments at your clinics or in your clinical practice, you can call the patient, teach all the exercises. You can stagger the appointments. You can call one patient, teach all the exercises, and then the patient can easily follow those exercises at home. And Therabands are very safe. You have to just take care of some basic precautions, and they're very safe. And for home setting, there are, I think, one of the preferred modalities which the patients and the subjects prefer to do exercise at home, or would definitely rather prefer, because they are lightweight and can be easily stored. They are not bulky, and you can even, when you're traveling also, you can easily carry 2 or 3 Therabands even in your pocket. You can carry them. Okay. On the contrary, free weights must be heavy and cumbersome to provide strong resistance. So if you like very strong resistance, you need to have heavy plates, and that becomes very difficult to manage. In addition, free weights tend to be expensive as they are typically priced by the pound. Now, biceps curl, and another important aspect, biceps curl with a free weight, the individual is limited to how much resistance he can use by how strong the biceps are at the beginning of the exercise, its weakest point. And that means that during the biceps curl, the muscle is not receiving adequate resistance when the muscle is in its strongest point in the range of motion. That's another important aspect. When the person is standing and he's doing a biceps curl, now as far as the biomechanical principles are concerned, according to length tension relationship, and optimal length of the muscle is the point where muscle gives maximum force. So the optimal length of the muscle is usually in the middle range. At the terminal ranges, the muscle is either lengthened or shortened. So a lengthened muscle would not give that much amount of force, would not generate that much amount of force. So usually when we start at, say, 0 degrees of extension for biceps curl, the muscle is at a disadvantage, and we are limited by the ability of our muscle to lift a weight at that specific point. Okay, so, and the muscle is strongest in the middle range, so you are not maximally stimulating the muscle. You're not maximally stimulating the muscle. But with the bands, it is like the principle is like that, in the beginning they give lesser force, and in the middle ranges they give more force because they are stretched. And then again the band's force decreases. That depends upon the angle at which you are applying the band to the lever. That is a further application which we talk about when we do our workshops. That means that during the biceps curl, the muscle is not receiving adequate resistance when the muscle is in its strongest point in the range of motion. Okay. When performing a curl with elastic tubing, however, the resistance increases as the range of motion increases. That's what I've mentioned. This means the muscle is receiving greater resistance at its strongest point in the range of motion, and therefore is receiving more adequate resistance to better stimulate strength adaptations. So you get a comprehensive training throughout the range of motion. There is comprehensive training throughout the range of motion. A critical benefit, it prevents the user from cheating on the exercise being performed, especially beginners. When using free weights, cheating involves the use of momentum to get the weight. Now, when you have bulky weights, subjects, what they do, they just create momentum and they try to lift that weight up. Okay. Cheating involves the use of momentum to get the weight moving. The muscle fibers do not need to be maximally activated. So the momentum takes the weight up. So maximally activated to continue moving the weight throughout the rest of the range of the motion exercise. The physical properties of elastic resistance devices do not allow the user to cheat by using momentum. So because Therabands do not have a weight of their own, so you cannot use the momentum as such. Now, exercises with elastic resistance related products. I'll just give you a brief insight of various approaches which we use with various products. And it's not limited to this only. There are various other things which you can explore yourself and find out and implement in your clinical practice. Now for postural impairment, upper cross syndrome. If you want to correct that upper cross syndrome in one exercise, and you can combine it with a chin tuck, restore muscle balance, improve alignment using a Brugger's exercise. It's called Brugger's upper body exercise. You have to just use the band like this, and you have to wrap it around your hands, and then do that specific movement of wrist extension, supination, external rotation, and abduction plus extension. You are doing like this. Okay, so you are reversing the pattern which is there when someone is sitting on the desk for long hours, so there is drooping of shoulders, the head is thrust forwarded, thrust forward, so there is extension at the upper cervical spine, and there is weakness of the retractors and tightness of the pectorals. So if you want to correct that, you want to strengthen the retractors and you want to correct that posture, you can use this Brugger's exercise for postural impairment. So I'll just show the video. So this is what is done. You are extending the wrist and supinating, and then you are abducting and external rotating the shoulders. So this is your Brugger's exercise, and you can start with a lower level resistance like a yellow or red, and then you can keep on progressing. And you have to follow the same principles of strength training which we follow, otherwise, as far as progression is concerned. Now, motor function impairment like cervical vector isometrics. You can specifically train the deep neck flexors to stabilize the anterior directed vector of the SCM. SCM, when it is activated more, when somebody is sitting on the screen, so activate, activation of SCM, sternocleidomastoid mastoid, it's a diagonal muscle. So its activation leads to forward head posture. So you have to activate your longus colli and longus capitis to maintain the position of the head. So you can use this. It's vector training basically. You can maintain the position of your head and neck in a retracted position, and then you can just pull the band. So that will activate your deep neck flexors and it will stabilize the neck. Okay. Again, same thing can be done with the cervical extension stabilization, Theraband loop cervical extension stabilization. You can use a loop. It's a loop basically, and you can use it for extension stabilization. I'll show one more video.
It's going on.
So when you're extending it, there will be activation of the cervical stabilizers. Automatically, there will be activation of cervical stabilizers. You don't have to do anything. So that adds variety to your clinical practice when you are doing this with bands. It makes more aesthetic, okay, and the patient doesn't get bored with same isometrics, hand like this, and the patient can himself do it easily. This stabilization when you incorporate these bands into your clinical practice. Then again, dynamic stabilization. Instead of moving the head or the upper limbs, you completely move your body. Okay, so you can stabilize all four directions of your neck just by going for a lateral lunge or side lunge or a forward lunge, then backwards also, backward lean with the band. You can dynamically stabilize all the muscles which are stabilizing the cervical spine. Then you can have a chronic neck protocol like this. You can just move the torso from your pelvis. there will be an anterior movement of the trunk, there will be posterior movement of the trunk, there will be sideways lateral flexion of the trunk and towards right or left, and you can activate all the muscles which are there. Then again, vector training, you can specifically target the inferior or the lower trapezius fibers. Okay, and lower trapezius is specifically weak when there is a forward shoulder. So the lower trapezius is specifically weak. You can, target the lower fibers of the trapezius in a specific direction, in a diagonal direction. You can see here. This is diagonally tied. You can use a band also. This is a Theraband station which has been used here. Otherwise, you can use a band which is aligned in a diagonal manner, and then you are basically taking your scapula down and backwards. So you are specifically activating the lower trapezius. Then you can combine two movements. You can have Theraband shoulder shrug and retraction. Combining shoulder retraction with the shoulder shrug activates the scapular muscles as well as the rotator cuff muscles. So you can do that if you want to just activate these muscles. Then you can combine a ball with Theraband exercises. It becomes very easy when you are and very productive also. Not just easy, but it is very, very productive. When you will do this thing in clinical practice, you will realize how productive it is, because the moment you sit on the ball, there is activation of your core muscles, and when you do any exercise with your upper limb or your lower limb, there is continuous activation of your core muscles, which is supplementing the overall exercise which you are doing. So proximal stabilization is always there. The base is always strengthened, so you can have a distal movement in a very easy manner, and a very good control is developed. The whole kinetic chain is trained. Okay. So Theraband shoulder seated row strengthens the upper back and the posterior shoulder. Theraband shoulder horizontal abduction, unilateral sitting on the ball can be done. So that again, trains the muscles very comprehensively. Not just the core, but the scapular stabilizers are also trained, and the upper limb muscles are also trained. Then you can use a loop also for scapular stabilization. You can use a loop also for scapular stabilization. You can use a wall station for cervical retraction. You can use a wall station for cervical retraction, basically, to train the retraction movement so that you are reversing the forward head. And again, you can use a mini ball chin tucks for flexor strengthening, for extensor strengthening. Then you can use bigger balls. Again, there are color codings for balls depending upon their size: yellow, red, green, blue, like that. Okay, so exercise ball thoracic extension stretch. It helps improve flexibility of the thoracic spine in extensions. You can use it for various stretch, for various strengthening exercises also. Okay, core stabilization. There is every one of you must be knowing. Okay, and there are like various exercises which can be done on these balls for core stabilization. There are various principles which we follow when we are using these balls for exercise. Okay, and that you can refer to, that you can find it on the academy website. So exercise ball stabilization would be their exercise ball prone shoulder flexion. You can increase the progression, or you can progress the exercises by incorporating various components while you are exercising on the ball, making it multiplanar. Exercise ball supine extension stretch. It stretches the entire spine extension. I'm just giving you sporadic examples from here and there. So I'm just trying to stimulate what all things can be done with these equipment. Exercise ball prone rollout for abdominal and core strengthening. Okay, it's very important. This prone bridge for core stabilization as well as closed chain shoulder stabilization. Then standing ball perturbations. Now you can see here, the subject is standing on the stability trainers. Again, these trainers are also there. These are again an elastic resistance device which is used for proprioceptive training. Or there is instability here, and the subject is standing with ball in her hands, and then the therapist is giving perturbations, and they are training the proprioception. The automatic postural reactions are trained. So when you are exercising standing on the stability trainers, the automatic APRs are trained automatically, and the whole movement is trained. The whole movement is trained. The kinetic chain is trained. Okay. So let me show you some other examples also. is happening? Yeah. So this is when I CLX. It's a special type of band. It's very good for your triceps. You're isolating the triceps, in a very well manner. Okay. One more video. If you want to, give squatting while using Therabands or Theraband CLX. CLX is a very interesting modality of elastic resistance, which you can explore. That's a very good exercise. You can see for squatting, you can easily progress to blue, black, silver, gold, like that. There is incorporation of Therabands into Pilates. It's very, very, very easy to incorporate bands into Pilates. Okay. Now, let's move further. Now, thank you to all of you. This was just a brief insight into, how you can, there are various ways of using elastic resistance. Believe me, it's so extensive. You must have not explored this field where it's so extensive. It's very difficult to cover all the things in just 1 hour. I kept around 10-15 minutes for discussion so that we can have good discussion also on this. Anything you want to ask, I'll be happy to take your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing this informative and interesting presentation with the audience. Any questions can be asked in the chat box.
Anything you want to ask, I'll happy to answer that.
Nitya, we have a few questions in the chat box. If you can
Yeah.
look upon the questions.
So one is, what is the neuromuscular activation by the Theraband?
So neuromuscular activation, you have to follow the same principle like muscle re-education pattern what we follow from 0 to 5. So initial stages you have to go for passive movements and then electrical stimulation. Then when the resistance training is indicated, then you can start with a tan or a yellow band initially, and then you can keep on progressing that. So you can easily use it for neuromuscular activation. And otherwise also, if you want to activate your muscles which are like silent, okay, because of some postures, our muscles become silent, they don't fire that much. So you want to activate those muscles, then Therabands are a very good modality to increase the firing of specific muscles. And you can use Therabands in various directions, so that becomes really handy when you are using for activation of specific muscles for correction of your posture. Okay, anything else?
The next is, so can we give Theraband exercises to pediatric patients?
Yes, Theraband is just a modality of exercise. It's not a system which you have to follow. It's a system in the sense it's not a different system. It's just a modality. Like you have a dumbbell, similarly you have Therabands also. So if you can use a dumbbell in a pediatric patient, you can use a Theraband also. So the principles of strength training would apply here also. You can there are like some added things also which you have to take care of, but the principles would apply. The same principles would apply. You can easily use them when you are in fact it's a very good topic. In fact, it's the best modality as far as I feel. That's the best modality which should be used with pediatric patient, because there is no relatively very less chances of injury if you obviously any exercise with pediatric patients should be supervised, any exercise. So, and if you use a band, they will enjoy more. Okay, I think they will enjoy more. They will there will be more compliance to the session, and it depends on the therapist also that how much the patient can get involved. But yes, bands, ask those who are in pediatric setup, they will swear by elastic resistance. They use them so much. Yeah.
What will be the ideal dosage for Theraband exercises? Any specifications?
Yeah, it depends on what your goal is. Whether you want to develop power, whether you want to develop endurance, or you want to, develop strength and endurance. A mixture of endurance and power, like that. So it depends that what your goal is. So you have to basically, generally what we physios do, we go for 10 to 12 repetitions for a specific weight. That we take a weight depending upon the repetition maximum, which can give us around 10 to 12 repetitions. So that is basically, if you want to develop endurance, you generally go for 20 or higher repetitions. And if you want to develop strength and power, you go for 3 to 6 repetitions. And we physios, we generally rely on 10 to 12 repetitions. So we take something from endurance and something from power. So strength, endurance, we develop some part of endurance, some part of strength. So if you want to say develop endurance, then take a band which would give you around 20 repetitions for that specific movement. And if you want to develop strength and power, then take a band which will give you around 3 to 6 repetitions for that movement. And if you want to be like somewhere in between, like if you want to develop strength and endurance, a mixture of both, then you can take a band which will give you 10 to 12 repetitions of that particular movement. So it all depends on your goal.
So the next question is, what is the principle of choosing a color for a beginner?
Same thing, just I mentioned that it's your goal and the baseline strength of the individual. Both the things, the goal and the baseline strength. So if the baseline strength of the individual is say just grade 3, then you will just go for active movements. Okay, it's like that. And if you are say going from grade 4 minus to 4 or 4 plus, if you're going, then you can start with a lower level band. Now you have to choose the color of the band depending upon the baseline strength. अब baseline strength क्या है पेशेंट की और आपका गोल क्या है. आपको endurance develop करानी है, तो उस band से the patient should be able to do around 20 repetitions. So you will take say a yellow band, and a yellow band is giving you 20 repetitions for that specific movement. So you will take a yellow band. Now when you see that you take a red band, and with the red band the patient is only doing 5 repetitions, but your goal is endurance. So you will take a yellow band. Now you will work out for 2 weeks for that yellow band, and after 2 weeks again you will check, and then you will see whether the patient is able to do better with the red band. Now with the red band the patient is doing 15 repetitions. Now you can perhaps progress from yellow to red. Now you will give red training, training with the red band for 2 weeks. Then after 2 weeks, then you will give a green band. Perhaps you can, check 2 weeks before with the green band also. Now at that time with green band, he was doing only 7-8 repetitions, and with red band, he was doing 15 repetitions. So you deferred the green band and you gave the red band. After 2 weeks with red band, he was doing 25 repetitions, and with green, he was doing 15 repetitions. So you can progress to green like that. So this is how you keep on progressing. So this is systematic approach. You assess, and depending upon the goal, you keep on progressing. Okay.
Thank you, sir. The next question is there any difference in usage of Theraband or Theratube? Any specific condition?
No, there is no difference as far as the biomechanical principles are concerned. This is just the patient's or the therapist's preference. Some patients, they, the gripping becomes easier with the bands, and with the tubings, it's not easier. Like with, in tubings, you can get handles, so it becomes easier to grip. So there are various patients' preference. There are no biomechanical differences as far as the properties are concerned. You can use a band or tube, no problem. And the color coding is also same as far as the Theraband codes and Theraband bands and tubes are concerned. The color coding is same.
Can we do cardio exercises with Therabands?
Obviously, cardio respiratory and aerobic training, you can incorporate your gym balls, your Therabands, do endurance training. Very, very, very important modality for your cardiorespiratory training. You can incorporate your Therabands into the aerobics. You just go on YouTube and search for aerobics with YouTube. You will get aerobics with Theraband. You will get I think thousands of videos on that. So you can easily incorporate for cardiorespiratory training Therabands easily. Any other question?
There's one more that, as you told, the resistance is different according to the company. So how can we comment in PT progression that it is in kg or in pound? How can we progress?
No, we can comment only if we are using only Theraband bands, only Theraband products, because those have been scientifically tested, and we know that this much would be the resistance when we are stretching a Theraband band by this much amount of elongation. Okay, so just I had shown you that the chart. If say a blue band is a Theraband blue band is stretched by 100%, it will give say 3.6 or 3.8 whatever kgs was there. So it is. I am not here to comment about the products of the other companies. I am talking about Theraband only. If you're using Therabands, then obviously you can rely on that. If you know that the percent elongation is 100% for a specific color code, then this much would be the resistance.
Any other questions?
There is one innovative question, Dr. Deepak. Someone wants to know how can we become a Theraband instructor?
I was actually contacted by them. I didn't apply. I was contacted by Theraband Academy that would you be interested? So I said yes. So they trained me, and then I became an instructor.
Any more questions that anybody wants to ask to Dr. Deepak? So, Nitya, I think we don't have any questions in the chat box now. So, will you proceed further?
Yes, sir. So now I would like to thank our presenter, Dr. Deepak, for sparing his time and sharing these knowledgeable insights with our participants. Our faculty, Dr. Devinder Gaur, for organizing this informative session, and the participants for their valuable time and patience during this webinar. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Devinder to kindly address our audience.
Thank you, Nitya. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Deepak Malhotra for taking out his valuable time and enlightening us about the vast role of resistance band in field of physiotherapy. Thank you, Dr. Deepak.
Thank you. Pleasure is all mine.
Then I would like to thank Nitya and my co-faculty members, my BCIP team, and I would like to thank all my students, the clinical therapists, the faculty members from other institutions who have joined us in this webinar. Thanks to all of you. Please don't log off now because I'm going to make announcement about our next webinar. Our next webinar is on cartilage regeneration techniques for cartilage defects and its PT management. It's on 23rd December at 1 p.m. So please register and keep learning. And I also request all the participants to follow BCIP on our social media platforms. I again thank all my participants. Thank you very much. Have a good day and happy learning. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed today's session.